Hi everyone, welcome to the Super Feeler podcast. My name is Lori and I'm super excited to be joined by Kails, who's going to be sharing a little bit about her story and some of the awesome advocacy work that she's been doing. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank our Patreon members. So thank you so much to Megan, Heather, Dave, Kat, Shannon, Jordan, Michelle, and Becca for all of your support on Patreon. If you haven't checked out our Patreon yet, please do so. It's linked in the show notes and on our Instagram. It's an awesome way to donate a small monthly donation or even a one-time donation and get some bonus content and just lots of interesting stuff over there. So thank you so much to everybody who's supporting right now. Okay, Kails, tell me about yourself. We have not met before, so I'm very excited to learn a little bit more about you.
I'm Kails. I am originally from Virginia. I moved to Maryland about 3 years ago because my mental health took a shot in a quick decline, and then I ended up coming back recently just before Christmas. So I've only been back in my hometown for a couple of months, and it's kind of weird, but that's where I am. I'm 23. I'm currently a full-time student studying. I'm a human services major with a psych minor. Had my heart set on psych for like the longest time.
I wonder why.
There.
It's almost like we all have psych degrees. Yeah, exactly.
I've noticed a common theme.
Yes.
But yeah, my end goal is hopefully to become an inpatient unit, like on a psychiatric care, as a psychologist, specifically for adolescents.
Amazing.
Because the first time I was hospitalized, I was 15. So that kind of has like a sweet spot for me, and I've seen like how horribly patients can be treated in care. So that is where my passion is, although I am taking a kind of slightly different direction as far as my work right now. I actually just passed my registered behavior technician exam last weekend. So
congrats.
Thank you. I'm currently doing that and doing applied behavioral analysis with kids working with autism. So that's going to help me decide if I want to include younger children into my scope of practice when I'm older.
Cool. So how old are the kids that you'll be working with then?
So I only have my one client right now, my first, and he is 6 turning 7. So
okay, yeah, so young. Definitely younger. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Honestly, that is so amazing. And I know a lot of people that do that, but it would be so dysregulating, I feel like, to be working one-on-one with someone and then having to manage your own emotions and theirs.
Yeah, well, let's just say if DBT, emotion regulation skills, weren't a thing before, they are absolutely now. I count to 10. My client will do it too. My client and I have worked on like taking deep breaths together when we get frustrated. So it's
awesome.
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, these skills are beneficial for everyone, right? Does not matter what kind of diagnosis you have.
Exactly. Like, she did not write it specifically for BPD. It's for everyone.
Exactly. So I'd love to know just more about your story, kind of your mental health journey. So you said your first hospitalization was, and sorry, if there's anything that you don't want you to talk about, just let me know. But your first hospitalization was when you were 15, you said?
Yes, when I was 15.
So what did that look like? Like, did you have mental health challenges before that, or was it kind of all of a sudden?
So I was in the very common thing I've noticed of living in a household where mental health is a taboo topic. Taboo subject. Nobody wants to talk about it. Everything kind of gets swept under the rug. So it's like when I go to the doctor's office, they're like, any history of mental illness in your family? I'm like,
probably
not diagnosed. Nobody wants to go see a doctor. So that was just kind of like how I grew up. And for high school, I ended up going away to boarding school just to kind of like, protect my little bubble. I didn't get sent away. Everybody thinks I was a problem child. No, that's not me. That's my other sibling.
Okay, good to know.
I went to boarding school. It was super small. We had about like 150 students. My graduating class had 24. But
Is that common down there to go to boarding school? That always seems like an England thing to me. I'm not sure if that's just because of Harry Potter.
No, I think that it was just, no, it's not common at all. It was not in my books when I was little, but it ended up happening like the summer before my freshman year of high school. So yeah. But then I think it was my sophomore year of high school. I had been taking U.S. history with like one of the most well-known professors on our campus. Like, she's so hard. Like, has that kind of gosh, what is the word that I'm looking for?
Like reputation?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much. The reputation of being a super hard teacher. And I ended up failing my first final exam for her class. And I've always been held to a very, very high standard by my grandparents. I was raised by my grandparents, still living with them. They're my absolute favorites most of the time. But my grandma held me to a very, very high standard. And I just knew that failing that exam was not going to go over well, especially because exams are right before Thanksgiving break. So I
So you
had
had to go
to
home.
fail my exam and go home. Yes. So I remember that so vividly. And I remember just feeling like I was just the biggest disappointment. And I was like, you know what? Maybe life isn't worth living right now. And I had attempted to take my life. And that was, I don't go into the details about it because I know some people can get triggered, but mine was always like a medication. So mine was pills. So that's what I struggle with is pills. And I just did what I had to do, even though it was kind of against my will. So because I was on campus, obviously that is quite a liability. And they don't want you on campus, but then they were also like, we don't want to send you home because so it was like this whole, all right, so we're gonna send you to a hospital that is an hour away from campus and 2 hours away from your home. And I was like, okay, cool. So I had like no idea what was happening. And that was my first like whole admission process. And I remember it so vividly, and it still makes me laugh sometimes that you do the typical stay in the ER for the night, maybe two, but depending on the bed crisis. And when I was getting admitted in the actual unit, the nurse asked me, she was like, "You know, death is permanent, right?" And I was just, yeah, that was the goal, like.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, sounds great.
Like, sign me off. I don't know.
100%.
I don't know. That was kind of like what I remember the most. But being 15, I was on the unit that had the people that were, I believe it was like 11 to 17. So it was kind of that range. I was right there in the middle, and we were separated, boys on one side, girls on the other side. And I just knew from like my very first day, I feel like I just picked up like on all the mistreatments like around everybody around me. Luckily, nobody wants their blood drawn at 4 a.m. But that was really like the worst. I just remember seeing like so many other people booty juice. I've never seen it used so often. And, looking back now, I'm 23 now. I was 15 then, but I was never realized like why were they giving these kids shots to make them go to sleep rather than trying literally anything else. It was like a first resort rather than a last. And it was just so weird to me. And unfortunately I did end up having to get hospitalized several times after that.
And did your grandparents know that you were in the hospital?
They did, yes. So I called my grandfather from the ER, and he came and brought my grandma to visitation with me, and he asked me no questions. He just showed up. He's literally been my biggest supporter since day one, my absolute like best friend probably within the family besides my little sister. But they knew. There were times after that he ended up driving me to one. He picked me up from my campus that was 2 hours away from home, drove me 2 hours back home to our facility. I'm just so grateful for that. The other times that I had been hospitalized, I kind of took myself. There was it was pre-PPD diagnosis, and I had gotten blocked by like a situationship, like an unofficial relationship. And I was like, yeah, no. And I walked myself the 30 minutes to the ER, and I was like, check me in, please, right now.
Yeah. And when you don't know that you have BPD, it's even harder because you're like, why is this so hard for me right now? Like, I don't get it. Everybody else can do this fine. I'm just so confused.
Yes. I remember because that person had, their mom has BPD. And they're like, you're kind of reminding me of my mom. And I was like, okay.
Interesting.
So I'll take it upon myself to like put BPD on my radar and kind of like educate myself. One, I'm so against self-diagnosing. No, I will never say I have something if I have not met with somebody. I will say, I think I kind of fit the criteria. And I remember I had gone to the hospital again, and that's when it was on my radar, and I had met somebody. He was like, you're a lot like me. And I was just like, what is that supposed to mean? I was like, do you have BPD by chance? Like, I feel like we like are the same in a lot of aspects.
We're vibing,
I was like, no, but should I ask about it? And he told me, he was like, that's what you're here for, right? To get help? And I'm like, yeah. So the next day I asked my doctor, and I was like, hey, this is something like, it's been on my radar for a while. I do not believe in self-diagnosing, but I do check some of these boxes. Like, is it something that we could potentially discuss? Because you're my doctor, and that's what you're going to do is discuss things with me that I need help on. And I remember he told me verbatim, that's not what you're here for. Ask somebody else when you get out. And I did. Because, when you're in the hospital, you're required to set up that follow-up therapy. Stuff all like that. That therapist and I ended up not being a great fit, but he gave me what I needed, which was the diagnosis. And I wanted to laugh in his face because he was like, yeah, you definitely have it. You're just on the mild side. I was like, I just got out of the hospital. You think I feel mild right now?
This is the mild side?
To me.
I know.
But yeah. So that
interesting. And did like the BPD thing ever come up like when you were young, like when you were first in the hospital? Like they often won't diagnose young, but like did they say like what did they say you had? It was just a suicide attempt and that was it?
It was just major depressive disorder at that point because I hadn't really like had a FP at that whole time and
Yeah,
everything
and that's
like
often
that.
where it gets shit, right?
I
Yeah.
remember, I don't know, I posted recently and there was like this audio of like Family Guy. It's like, I like how you're at least 18 years old. And I posted a video like probably like a month ago. I was like, when somebody says they have BPD, but like, they don't typically diagnose under 18.
Yeah.
Unless like I acknowledge that there are always those
It
like
does happen.
extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And the comments are eating me up alive. Just saying
Oh
like, oh,
no.
you're like not unvalidating like everybody that's gone and seeked help. And I'm like, you also don't recognize the danger of being diagnosed so young. So many things overlap and stuff like that. And yeah,
Yeah. It just depends on the situation, right? And like, because like to me, I feel like I was diagnosed at like 18 or 19. I wish I knew earlier because like I had these problems my whole life. And like, so for me, I'm just like, if I could have not felt like I was just like a freak,
yeah,
or like had like the ability to be like, oh, DBT is like the thing that I might need. I'm going to try and like learn this. It might have helped. But yeah, I mean, then there's the stigma too, right? Like, do you want that stigma when you're 15?
oh my gosh,
Don't
that's
know.
another thing. That same hospital, I asked the doctor, hey, can we talk about this? My case manager upon discharge, I told her that I was like, like I'm going to go ask like this therapist about this. She's like, well, you don't want that. That's going to follow you for life. And I was like, all right. And I didn't realize that that was such a widespread stigma throughout the
Yep.
field, both
Huge.
within like just regular people that are struggling and then also within like the professional field of things. Because I'm also, I'm a psych minor and I was taking abnormal psych and they're like, yeah, we stay away from like diagnosing these. Like that's a label for life. And I'm like, okay, so is like everything else essentially. Like I don't see
Yeah.
how it's any different. And the stigma within the field quite honestly disgusts me. I think
Oh,
it is
yeah.
so gross. And I'm just like, it's not like we're any less human than anybody else. Like it's just give it the proper call it what it is, because you really can't do anything else
Yeah.
besides that. But then
Well, and what's
also
crazy is like sometimes they put it on your chart, but they don't tell you have it. So the stigma is still there, but you're not aware of it because you
I'm
don't
so
know that
lucky
you
that it's
have it.
never happened to me.
Right? But it happens to like so many people. And it's like absolutely just like fucked because I get not diagnosing people because you're worried about the stigma. I don't agree with it, but I get the logic, but at the end of the day, like it's the healthcare system and the people within it that need to change their stigma, not
Exactly.
our fault for the
Yes.
stigma that we are, perpetrated by.
Exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we should like normalize diagnosing personality disorders left and right. Clearly,
Yeah.
that would be terrible. Do not make that your first resort, but just the education aspect of it. Because I always grew up with like my mood swings and my mom and my grandma being like, "Oh, you're so bipolar. Like you're happy one second and then you're
Totally.
upset the next." And I was like, "Huh,
That's not
maybe."
bipolar.
And then I was like, "No, girl, this is a bipolar express."
Yeah, not truly. The bipolar express. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is people, I feel like most of us probably were called like bipolar growing up. And I remember being called that too. And like bipolar is not 5 minutes up, 5 minutes down, 2 seconds
No,
up, 50
not at
minutes
all.
down.
And it
Right? It's like,
upsets
it's just
me
a
so
misunderstanding.
much. Like so much. All it takes is a simple Google search. I feel like when people are doing things, like it just irks me when on that post that I had mentioned before about them not typically diagnosing under 18. Everybody's like, "Well, I got diagnosed with bipolar, blah 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 blah." I'm like, they're not the same, honey.
No.
Let's differentiate, please, because there is in fact a very very big difference, and so many people don't recognize that. So many people use them interchangeably, and I understand the comorbidity rate and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but they're not the same.
They're not the same. The fact that the acronym is so confusing is annoying because like BPD, people are like, oh, bipolar disorder. I'm like, bipolar's one word. It's BD.
Bipolar is yes.
But yeah, I mean, it gets confusing. But yeah, it's so interesting to like study psych while you're being diagnosed because you were diagnosed at, sorry, what age were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed at 19.
At 19. Yeah, so same as me. And also I was also studying psych. Shocking. So yeah, it's just like you're kind of going through this like internal process of like figuring yourself out. You get this diagnosis and then you're also hearing about things about BPD in school and you're like trying to maneuver like what is real, what is my experience, what is like the general experience, and I don't know, was that difficult for you?
I can't say that I've met anybody else in person that has been diagnosed. So it's quite hard. I'm actually I'm currently in a women gender TED worldwide class, and my final project is going to be on the feminism in psychiatry and kind of stuff like that. So I feel like that is something that is a huge aspect as well, because also I'm just a girl. Like, I don't use that to like minimize my problems, but I am a girl. That's just like the fact of the way it is, and just like my heightened emotions 24/7 just makes it sound like it's that time of the month 24/7.
Yeah.
So it kind of gets overlooked in some aspects.
It does.
You know, I've found my people online, although I do choose very quite carefully, like who I'm following and stuff like that, and who I interact, because self-diagnosis is so huge on an online platform.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that I'll definitely be talking about in my final project, because, you know, you have this community, but then it's also, you can't validate. People will say whatever they want to say, and they want to hop on the BPD train, although it's not always a fun ride. Like, I don't want to give this out to people.
Yeah, I don't, like, it's wild, because when I was diagnosed, like, social media wasn't, I mean, it was, that makes me sound 1,000 years old. I'm only 31, but like, it wasn't as prevalent. Like, there was no TikTok. And I've heard, and I don't have TikTok because I am 1,000 years old. I've heard that like on TikTok, there is a big movement of like, oh, like I have BPD. And like people are thinking it's really cool. And I'm like,
I'm reading all these posts and I'm like, there is no way that every other person I am swiping and seeing has borderline personality disorder. Like, yes, I'm diagnosed.
I mean, there is an algorithm, but still.
But still, yes. It's even like when I log into like other accounts that aren't like, I'm like, okay, y'all are pushing it, because I do recognize, I am diagnosed, but then I also recognize that it's one of the most diagnosed, and then also misdiagnosed.
It's
so
very misdiagnosed.
Those are the factors that people are missing completely when they're like saying things online.
And it's also like, I think sometimes I see it used as like an excuse, and I'm like, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation too, right? So like,
say that is literally my motto with people that use it. I had a very, very toxic, abusive relationship, and her new girlfriend was like, oh, well, it's that, you know, untreated BPD. And I'm like, telling somebody to off themselves and threatening their life is not just untreated BPD if it's a continuous cycle. You know, like, I get like your mood swings being like explained by it, but you can't just use it to go, oh, it was my BPD. You can't just slap a sticker on it and choose like what you're gonna
what is cool, what is not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you've been hospitalized a couple more times, it sounds like, and then have you done dialectical behavior therapy or like other therapy?
Yes, I actually did a DBT program through TheraHive. So when
I've never heard of that.
They're great. I really enjoyed it. They offered me, they actually reached out to me on Instagram. And they're like, hey, like, we want to offer you like a free spot in our classes. And they try to be as cost efficient as possible. So I believe it was like $60 per week. And they go through like all the modules, and it's like a group therapy aspect, but then you also have like the take home thing. They were a great resource. Like, I absolutely like, I loved it, and I still have like all the resources. So they actually have a DBT skills pocket guide, where it's like you can add like widgets on your home screen that'll take you to a direct link. So it's like you can just click it and it'll take you to this like little website that you can just scroll through and pick whatever skill you need. Like,
so cool.
Yeah, so effective. Definitely one of my top resources.
I love like that technology is expanding to incorporate DBT easier, because like I mean, I don't know when you did DBT, like did you have diary cards you had to fill out every day?
No, but my therapist is thinking about adding some recently, so that'll probably be on there soon.
Yeah. So like when I did diary cards, it was like I literally had a binder and I would like write in them. And I'm like, I feel like there must be apps for this. So I know there are, but it's just nice that you wouldn't have to like carry around a binder. Like I literally sound 1,000 years old, but anyways, whatever.
Okay, that's also a huge aspect of my project, is because, you know, it is a women gender tech. Worldwide, I have to focus on like the technological aspect of it. So those are things that like I'm looking into, especially because they're mental health apps, more driven towards women, that are created by women for women. So I love that, and I adore that, and I can't wait to look into it some more.
Well, the mental health advocacy space is like predominantly women, predominantly white women too. So like that in itself is a very interesting angle to look at too. Is just like what about being like a lot of the time it's like a middle-aged white woman makes it so much easier to be out about your story, and how does all of the intersectionalities impact whether or not people can share?
Yeah. Because when
It's a thing.
I want to include obviously like a little trailblazer portion in my project of like, so like women that have pioneered the psychiatry field, and all you see is white women, white women, white women, white women.
Oh, totally.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like, there's a list of 50 people, and like 30 of them are white. What about all these other people? I don't under, but that's just on me to educate myself some more. I feel like I can't blame them on website for their list.
No, for sure. But it's very common. Like
Yes.
I do, like my full-time job is also in like a advocacy kind of thing. And it's like, we have so many middle-aged white women and I love them. They're great. I'm not middle-aged, but I am a white woman. And like, I totally know that like I am one of many, especially in the BPD advocacy space. But it's, yeah, I mean, everybody's story is valid, but there's also so many stories that are like being not heard that we need to hear,
Totally.
So anything we can do to improve that is great. So DBT has been helpful for you, and now you're kind of working on some cool on-campus stuff, right?
I am, yeah. I'm super involved with NAMI, so the National Alliance on Mental Illness. What is it? It's like the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. They do like the advocacy, education, and support. And I've been doing that for about a year now. I'm most involved in our own voice presentations, which is where you go and you basically just share your recovery story. But I really appreciate that the script is more structured. Like there's a whole training for it, and your script is broken down. Well, your story as a whole is broken down to what happened, what helps, and what's next. So
Nice.
I feel
That's
like
great.
It's nice to have that structure to like kind of think about, and I'm most involved with that. So it's going to be a year in May, and I've been doing work with them. And when I moved back, so I actually I say I'm going through a breakup. It's been 6 months now, but I'm still.
You know what? In BPD, that is not very short.
For like 3 years, but I decided, I can't let the breakup completely ruin everything I have set in stone for me. I decided to make the decision and still move back. We were supposed to move here together and go to school. So I'm kind of basically doing everything that was planned just without her, which really, 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 really sucks. But at the end of the day,
that's hard.
It's what I have to do. I was just like, I got to make sure my mental health is in check, because obviously when your mental health takes a decline, your academics are going to as well. So it was so important to me to try and find something on campus. And when I was looking on like our campus like organization website, there was an active minds chapter, which I had like heard of before, but it didn't look like it was active at all. I had reached out to people. I had reached out and I never heard back. And I was like, okay. And then I found out that there's a lot of groups that are just kind of like fallen off, that they haven't taken off the website. And I was like, okay, so I'm just going to figure out how to do this on my own. So I kind of asked them, like, what do you have to do to start an organization? And they said, find a faculty advisor and then like one other person to be considered an officer. So I kind of did all of this on my own, and I can't take all the credit because obviously there are so many people within like the approval process, all the girls that have stepped up to be my fellow officers and stuff like that.
But to start it,
I feel like that was on me. So I took it upon myself, and I went to our local NAMI affiliate office, and they were more than happy to get us hands on deck. So NAMI on campus is just underneath NAMI's like little umbrella, but it's more targeted. There's high school and there's college campuses that have them. And if I had known that it was a thing for high school, I wish I could have started that at mine. That would have been such a great resource. But yeah, I'm super excited. We just got approved this past month. It took about a month to get approved. So we're trying to hit the ground running. But we have a bunch of stuff planned. We want to do a NAMI Walks, which is like their fundraising around. We're right by Norfolk. So there's like a waterside district that would be beautiful to do like a 5K. Huge like Navy based town. But that is going to be huge. We have the flyers made, but we're going to set up an ongoing clothing drive for people to donate their clothes, especially because the semester's ending and everybody's going to be leaving their dorms. For people that kind of want to purge their closets, but all the donations are going to go to inpatient psychiatric facilities. For people that come in empty-handed,
and don't have anything.
Great. Exactly, yes. But we're very big on, no strings, please, no strings. Like, I'm so big on that. I'm like, please just follow the regulations. So that is another thing that we're doing. But then I also want to be able to lead like the trainings for some of the NAMI programs. So that in our own voice that I had mentioned, I want to give other people the opportunity to do the same thing. So I've done the training. I think that I may be like qualified to lead it at some point, and I want to be able to do that for people. There's also peer-to-peer, which is the 8-week program. And these are all free, which is like the
Yeah,
best part of
amazing.
NAMI. I'm like, everything is free. So there's peer-to-peer, which is the 8-week. It's more of like an educational program to kind of help you get a grasp of like what recovery is as a whole, both on a personal and a general scale, for people that are struggling, but then also have loved ones that are struggling. And I have my trainee coming up in June, and I'm so excited to be able to like offer that to my peers. Like, hey guys, if there's anybody that wants to learn about recovery, I'm your girl. I got you. Like, please stick with me these 8 weeks. I'm so excited, and I just love going around and saying like, yeah, I'm sharing my recovery journey. They're like, oh, so you're good? No,
No, it's a lifelong recovery journey.
no, and that's what I
We're
love
all in
asking
it.
people. I love asking. I'm just like, so what does recovery mean to you? Because obviously it's going to be different for so many people. And I've heard people say like, oh, well, like, you know, when I haven't felt bad in a while, and I'm like, you can feel bad and still be in recovery. Like, I don't know who made you feel that way, but you know, if that's your definition, that's your definition. Mine is ongoing. So I truly admire, because in our own voice presentations, you typically have a partner. And
Okay.
I go into
and are they another person with lived experience,
Yes.
or are they like a clinician?
Yes.
Oh, nice, cool.
And it's always so amazing because I walk in and I don't know who I'm going to be presenting with, and to be able to hear somebody's story while I'm sharing mine, it's amazing. And I always think that it's so funny that every presentation I've had so far, my co-presenter, when I've had one, has bipolar. So it's like we're these two,
no way. That's perfect.
Two like ends, and I just think it's so cool.
Oh, I love that. That's honestly so helpful because you can contrast them like directly in that one presentation. Oh, that's so awesome. And so who do you usually do the presentations to? Like, is it on campus or is it high schools or what?
So I would love to have a speaker come to our campus. There is another program that NAMI offers called Ending the Silence, which is geared more towards middle school and high school students. So that is something that I'm looking to do, for us to go to other campuses and speak for like younger kids. Because we all had like the anti-bullying assemblies, but I feel like mental health as a whole is not something that was talked about when it should have been. So that's something that I want to provide to the kiddos in the area, probably either in the spring or the fall, this upcoming fall, just to give me the summer to prep for that. But that's something that I'm really excited for. But places that I've gone, so my very, very first presentation was actually, and I didn't realize this when I signed up, it was going to be at the place where I was last hospitalized. So my last hospitalization was in Maryland, Super Bowl weekend of 2022.
Okay.
So I walked in and I was like, this unit is looking a little familiar. And then I walked in, I was like, oh, this unit is familiar. Like, that was my room right there. So
did you recognize any staff?
I did not. But funny enough, my co-presenter, yes, I had given her a phone call just like, I like to touch base at least. Like, hey, like, I'm here. And I had given her a phone call. I was like, yeah, like, I'm sorry. Like, we couldn't like Zoom. I like to typically do it kind of like through Zoom.
Right. Get to know yourself.
If I can. But this was a phone call, and I was just explaining, I was like, yeah, like, it turns out that I had been hospitalized there. She's like, no way, I was too.
No.
When? And she said, well, my last time was, February 2022. And I was like, I was there February 2022. And we walk in person, and it is this woman that I remember seeing on the unit. No. We were there at the exact same time, exact same place, and we're coming back to present at the same time in the same place. I just felt like it was the most, like, full circle, heartwarming, rewarding feeling I've ever known. And that's why I'm so big on preaching to people. And I'm so glad that we have like 30 people already like on campus interested in being involved in stuff like that, because it is, and I say it every day, that it is truly the most rewarding work I've ever done. I think that I've truly found my purpose. You saw my post. I found my purpose doing this for other people. So it's the one thing that's keeping me going, I gotta say, at the moment right now, is doing all this good work on campus. There's just so much that we can do. I want to have like a whole mental health fair, like with resources and local providers and stuff like that, because that's actually how I came about NAMI. I was sitting, before I transferred from Maryland, I was sitting and I was like, I need to do something good, because doing something good makes me feel good when it helps other people. I just looked up mental health volunteer work near me, and NAMI was the first thing that popped up, which makes sense considering they are the nation's largest mental health organization.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it. I had not received any emails about it, but there was a mental health fair on campus that day. So like immediately after signing up, as I'm walking to my next class, I bump into this table with NAMI representatives, and I was like, I think that this is literally the path that I was meant to be on. So I've been doing it since then, and it's been great.
That's so cool. I'm so excited for that to continue to grow for you. Like,
Too.
there is nothing like the mental health community, and to have a purpose, which it just is so important for recovery. And it sounds like you've found yours and are already doing awesome stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if anybody, so what school are you at again? Sorry.
I'm over at Old Dominion University in Norfolk.
Old Dominion University. So if anybody goes there, how can they get in touch with you? I can put your Instagram in the show notes, and then maybe they can get in touch.
That would be so cool.
I mean, it would be random if somebody is listening from that university, but you never know. There have been weirder things. Yeah.
Yeah. So our Instagram page for the organization is going to be ODU and then NAMI OC. So Old Dominion University NAMI on campus. And then we also have our email, which is ODU@gmail, just as our main two forms of contact. But then there's also my page that they're able to reach me out on, you know, my pretty BPD Pisces.
Yeah, I love that name. It's so good.
I love when people like relate to it. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that first hashtag is so me." I was like, "I'm so glad I claimed this username while it was available," because
truly, oh my god, I know. I've had some great ideas for usernames, and they are gone in a heartbeat. And I'm always like, god damn it! Yeah, I wanted that so bad. But yeah, it's such a good name. I love it. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you like really wanted to talk about today?
I don't really know. I think that there's a just huge thing about BPD being, you know, childhood rooted. So that clearly means that it has to do with family members. And I just feel like, you know, if somebody in your family has BPD, maybe take a second to like look in the mirror for a second. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm just saying that when I keep
chances are it's not just you.
Chances are, yeah. So I just feel like that is just something that people need to be more aware of. And then also the whole aspect of like the stigma, which to this day, I'm still trying to overcome myself, is the stigma against it. Because, you know, I'm sitting here in like these psych classes, and one, it is so hard to not like think I fit the criteria for everything we discussed. And I think that this goes for studying psych as is.
And they do say that usually at the beginning of an abnormal psych class is like, you're going to think you have everything, but you don't.
I was sitting there and I was just like, oh my gosh, I know like the misdiagnosis rate between BPD and autism is so high. Like I remember calling my ex-girlfriend, I was like, do you think I'm autistic? It was just like, no, you're good. Okay, like we know what it is. Go from there. But yeah, I just feel like I just wish people would educate themselves so much more. That's just the one thing. Like, I feel like people like us that do so much work to advocate, and you know, it's not necessarily our job to educate people, but we do it because that it is so important. And I just wish that more people would take it upon themselves to look in the right places. Yes, TikTok is great. I'm on TikTok. That's how my whole social media advocacy even started. But stop believing everything you see online.
Totally. It's so funny. I was just recording with somebody else earlier today, and they're really big on TikTok too. And I was like, I hate social media, but like, God, TikTok seems like it's very helpful for people to get their message out.
It is. My goal wasn't even to start the page. It was as a project. So I was doing a lot of projects related to mental health, I'm noticing. But it was for my English writing class, and I had written a paper on the gender differences within borderline personality disorder, which is something that I want to delve into even deeper, because it's always women I'm noticing that I'm coming in touch with that are like, yeah, I have BPD, but I want to hear a man's perspective so bad. And that's ironic because I'm not usually the biggest fan of men. I don't like them very much, but obviously every person has their struggles. I just would love to see like how it exhibits differently, like in person, because I feel like that is a huge thing to think about too. But it started as that, so we had to take our paper and put it into like a different form of media. So some people did like PowerPoint, some people did posters. I was like, I'll just leave videos yapping on TikTok, but they're not gonna see anything. It's not gonna reach that many people. And like now today, I have like 2,000 followers on TikTok, and it's great. So
wow, awesome. Yeah, it's funny how that works. Hey, it just hits the right people, and there you are.
Yeah, so cool. Love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I am so glad that we met. The work you're doing is so cool, and I know it's just going to continue to grow. Last question. What is your favorite thing about having borderline personality disorder?
I I always say that how lucky am I to feel more than most than none at all. I just think that, especially knowing a couple of narcissists in my lifetime, those people that stare at you like a robot, like you're talking to a brick wall when you're expressing your emotions, that I'd rather be the person in tears, screaming, crying, throwing up over any type of thing than just the person that is completely like emotionless and has no remorse for anything they've ever done. So I just think that that is something that I used to hate about myself. I used to hate that I'm such a big crier and that I feel everything so intensely. But I just think that, that's what DBT is for. Specifically for those with those like more intense emotions. So I do think that I am lucky to feel more than most than nothing at all. So that's my favorite.
Oh, beautiful. I love it so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kails, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. Thank you so much for listening to the Superfeeler podcast. This episode was recorded on the traditional and unceded territory of the Matsqui and Sumas First Nations. If you'd like to learn more about the Superfeeler podcast, share your story, or participate in the Superfeelers Club, which is our peer support group, it's totally free, virtual, and open to anyone who experiences intense emotions or has borderline personality disorder, please check out the link in our show notes or go to laurieedmondson.com. If you would like to support the show, we would very much appreciate it. There's an option to do monthly small donations at whatever denomination you'd like, and you get bonus content, extra resources, and extra connection to me throughout. That can be found on patreon.com/superfeeler, or again in the notes below. Thanks again, and have a great day.